Okay, 15, 16, good luck. That should be green there. There's a bit of a rating gap there, actually. I'll just double check that. I'm approaching 600 games. My opponent 1300, so enough to establish a rating. A lot of games in the other time control, you see, you normally expect the ratings to be broadly the same in each time control. It's a bit unusual to see a big gap like that. That's a little bit unusual. That's the same for everybody at every level of chess. You don't normally see big rating gaps. As long as you've played enough games, if you've only played 10 games in one or something, obviously it's a bit different. But when you've played hundreds or thousands, the ratings are normally broadly the same. So we're just going to try and castle here. Okay, drop our bishop back. Again, drop back. Very, very attacking from our opponent. So, good job I've held off castling. I might end up looking to go the other side now. Knight up might be a move as well, and we can just try and get some pieces off the board, take a bit of this attack out. So what are we going to do? Might be worth going this way. So knight up is a very logical move. It does restrict my pawn. Yeah, well, he's trying to force the issue. So I could play bishop forward and get it traded off the board, or I can try and push a pawn, but I don't really like the idea of pushing a pawn, walking into trouble. If I take a pawn, it's probably the right move, but is it a bit scary opening the file up? Here, if you come down, I think I can still go here, my knight runs, but take across down. I could play the bishop here or here, couldn't I, actually? So maybe that's fine to take. So what's his idea? Has he got... Here I just take, right? I'm a bit worried that I'm missing something here, but I'm going to grab the pawn. But I'm a little bit concerned that I might be missing some simple move here. If this is some sort of opening theory... Oh, that's the pawn. I'll just have to quickly get that. Right, apologies about that. I just have to briefly answer the phone there. So, what do we do here? If we gain a knight, lose a knight. Yeah, if I drop the knight back and you come down, it feels like I might be getting trapped. So gain a knight. And lose a bishop. My knight actually is trapped as well, isn't it? So if I take the knight... lose a bishop. My knight is definitely trapped, so we don't want that. So that means knight back is my only real move. Pawn down here. This is a bit scary, isn't it? Yeah, it could be some sort of weird practice. It could be. It looks very odd, doesn't it? And like I say, that looks unusual, having such a large rating gap from one time control to the other. It's perfectly possible. You know, somebody could be not so good in bullet, for instance, being slow with the mouse. I'm not that quick with a mouse myself, so it could be fine, but it seems a bit odd. So here I'm going to have to go here. So he's played the knight there, but if I go here, can he ignore it? Now I think I'm fine to take. So I'm going to play here and hit the knight and see what you do. If he takes, I'll just take with a bishop. Oh, he's gone back. Okay. I'm just going to develop my knight. Again, I could play a bishop here and trade it off, but I think I'm leaning more towards going queenside here just because of the open file. I generally prefer kingside castling most of the time. I could play a knight forward as well and try and take here, but that feels risky, but actually, is it? It feels like a decent move, actually, to me. It creates a threat to potentially take a pawn. The bishop can drop back now. The knight's got another escape path if needed. Let's get the cursor off the board so there's no accidental slips. So he's played bishop down to attack my knight. So I could go here and force a trade, but can I ignore here and just take? The pawn is covered. It's still a pawn's a pawn though, and if takes and queen takes, I don't think there's an effective discovery to win my queen. So I'm going to grab another pawn. I'll pre-move in case he takes a knight. That's a check, so it's a safe pre-move. If knight takes, queen takes, I don't think the knight's got a good jump to trap my queen. And if the knight does move, if the knight moves anywhere, then I'm threatening checkmate. So I don't think you can move your knight. It doesn't matter where the knight goes, then the queen would come in with checkmate. Again, I'll pre-move in case he takes the knight there with a check. Okay, so he's played queen down. So what I'm looking at here is simply castling and saying my king's relatively safe now. If you trade your queens a bit out of the way, then a move like bishop up is very strong. I could play bishop up immediately, but you've still got a check, so I'm going to castle, give myself some safety. So bishop up is the concept that I'm looking at, just to take the knight, remove it, and then go in for the king. That's my basic idea. But if takes here, I'll probably just take back so I don't give away a free piece. So I think I'll pre-move that. Well, he's played bishop up, so that might allow me to simply take. But I'm still looking at going here to hit the knight. I think that seems like a good move. Say you castle, I could just simply take. The knight can't move now without me taking the rook. So if the knight moves anywhere now, then we could take the rook. But now we can take, and if you take back, it's going to be check and mate. So I think I can just simply take there. If you take either way, the queen comes in with check and mate. A bit unfortunate, my opponent here. So I don't think you can afford to take back. You might ultimately win the piece back. Just simply castling might be the best move, and then my bishop is pinned, so I can't keep it. Oh, he's just missed it, unlucky. So that's going to be check and mate. Difficult position for white there. That was a difficult position there. Well, the king's only got one square, and it's checkmate next move, so we get the win. A bit unfortunate there, my opponent. So we'll just pause that one and put it through the engine. Just 18 moves. But my opponent was a little bit unlucky there. So what's it? Queen's pawn game Collis system. If you click on that, it'll bring some puzzles up so you can play them through in this type of position. So that was good by me. 97%, and my centre pawn lost 13. The lower that is, the better. Again, 80% accuracy for my opponent. That's pretty good, isn't it? When you look at the rating gap, that's pretty good. That's not bad. So in this final position, obviously taking the bishop leads to the mate in 2. That's why it's a blunder. It's still effectively -5. And yeah, just castling was the best move. And then you might even win the piece back. So castling. Then the engine is saying I should take the pawn on f2. You take the bishop. Then what? What sort of a move is that? The engine's saying I can play knight to e5 because you can't take, you lose your queen. But why? When am I going to look at a move like knight to e5? You know, you're going to just take the bishop, aren't you? Or you might take one of the rooks. Knight to e5, that's... These engines are a little bit odd, aren't they? But you can take your time in your own games and play through the moves like this, what this suggests. But, you know, considering there's a large rating gap, it's not a bad effort by my opponent there. So we just got a bit fortunate with this one.